29 years old. I'm an Arab female named Felicia. I have a sister of 32 named Vera. My sister Vera met her husband, who's 35, male, Oscar, 2 years ago. You know, like those office romance stories where the secretary and boss fall in love. Well, that's what my sister had with Oscar. He was a self-made man, very handsome and smart. He wasn't the richest there was, but he was well off. Anyways, when they met at first, they were purely professional. But after he popped up for a surprise visit while my sister was ill, I noticed how he obviously had feelings for her and pushed them to be together. My sister did not believe in shooting her shot because she thought she was way out of his league. But I told her to at least try, and if it didn't work out, then it didn't work out. Anyway, she tried, and well, it worked out. They started dating, and after a few months he proposed. She said yes, and now here we are a few months after. A week ago was the wedding, but we only had the after party yesterday. The reason for this is my sister's mother-in-law is 54, while entitled female ruined the first one. She made a complete fuss after the reception and during the after party because she did not like the food and music, calling it all kinds of disgusting slurs. As well, the wedding was a traditional one, traditional white wedding, but the food was Arab cuisine, and the music was also partly Arab, and she didn't like it. Still, that wasn't what ruined everything. After going on a rant, she decided to vomit and pee all over the venue, and had to be thrown out. So that's kind of what I'm dealing with right now. I'll give some more extended backstory in a little bit, so stay tuned for update 1. My sister and I are of Arab origins. Our parents are migrants from Syria. They came to Europe for a better life. I won't specify where exactly, but yeah. Anyways, we grew up with a lot of our cultural influence. Because even though our parents were in a new country, they still made sure we knew our origins. One very important thing to note is we are dark-skinned Arab women. Both of our parents were dark-skinned, so we came out dark-skinned. So, my sister and I were always close because we went through a lot together, and shared a lot of similar traits and experiences. I'm already married because of me and my sister. She has the more career goal-oriented one, whilst I was the one more family-oriented. So, I got married way earlier than she did. My husband is of a Latino origin. He's also pretty well off. His family was very accepting of me and my sister, even though we were of different ethnic and cultural background. This, though, is where things are different for my sister. Her husband, Oscar, he's white. His whole family's white. So having an Arab wife was certainly not what they were wanting, especially a dark-skinned one. You'll understand what I mean by that a bit later on. Him being rich and white and her being work-class Arab were two reasons why my sister did not want to shoot her shot with him. And also because they were so closely in age. She felt he would never want her. I managed to help her bypass that by pushing her to reach out to him. Well, she did, and the feeling was mutual. I spoke to Oscar and passed him as a good man for my sister. Because even though he was pretty well off, he was very down to earth and kind. As mentioned before, he was a self-made man, using years to build his fortune from the ground up, so he wasn't snobby or judgmental in the least. His family, on the other hand, were a different story. From what my sister told me, unlike our parents, who supported our goal and dreams, his did not. They were very much trapped in the poverty mindset, where they believed your circumstances determined who you became, but in a pessimistic way. So, as soon as he made his dream to become a self-made man clear to them, he was kicked out and sent to fend for himself. So, that explains his completely different mindset compared to his family, who swarmed in as soon as his dreams were accomplished. Honestly, I don't think I would be kind-hearted enough to do what he did after everything they've done to him. But in a way, I used that to vet him for my sister and confirm that he really was a person with a great heart. Still, even though he managed to help them change their lifestyle, their mindset remained the same. So the first time my sister and Oscar went to meet his family, they invited me and my husband along. Sadly, from the moment we stepped foot into the house, the tension was strong enough to chop through a board. I remember Oscar greeting his mother, who wore a smile with a big hug. This was kind of how the conversation went. "Hey, Mom. Oh, my baby boy. You finally came home. I missed you." I honestly thought she was a sweet woman when she greeted him like that, but pretty soon after, those thoughts changed. After she hugged him, she then looked over at us. I could tell that she was confused. I wonder if Oscar had not told her he would be with visitors. Still, what she said after told me that it was clearly not the case. "Oh, I thought you said you were coming over with your girlfriend and her family. But who are these workers?" This was supposed to be a family gathering. That was definitely what made it clear to me that she was not a sweet person. I could tell Oscar was embarrassed by the fact that she had outright assumed, likely, because of our race, that we were workers. Because he almost immediately turned red. Actually, Mom, these are not workers. That's my girlfriend and her family." He had pulled my sister closer, who was smiled awkwardly, clearly uncomfortable from the comment, and I understood why. Because from her attitude of assuming we were workers, because we were of different ethnicities, it told us she was likely a racist. Evelyn's entire aura changed once Oscar told her that. Her face morphed into many expressions, but the one she had settled for was disgust and disbelief. "Evelyn, are you trying to tell me, that is your girlfriend?" Oscar's entire aura changed when he heard it too. "Look, Mother, her name's Vera. I'll not tolerate you calling her that. I came here to share my joy with you, not have you disrespect the woman I love. So if respect is too much to ask, we'll be on our way. Let's shut her down real quick, and I had to give a thumbs up to Oscar for defending my sister. Still, I could tell that old lady was still so mad. Fine. Anyways, let's go. The rest of the family's waiting outside. She turned away without even apologizing, and Oscar had to tell us to follow him. Once we got inside and sat down, I could see all the surprises on the face of the others. I honestly have to say, I was uncomfortable. And if I could go back, I'd probably not meet the family ever. His aunt's reactions to us was the same as his mother. And once she learned that we were the visitors, nothing really changed. The tension at the table was bad, especially when questions started firing around. His sister asked him how he met his girlfriend, and his aunt assumed it was probably at a strip club, causing few others at the table to giggle. Oscar was clearly not okay with it because once he glared at them, they all shut up. He's made it clear that he met my sister while she was working as his secretary. His cousin made an offhanded comment about my sister being below his financial status, and how he should have chosen a richer woman. That rubbed me very wrong, but once again, Oscar cleared the air. Still, the tension rose again once my sister's age was asked. When she 32, everything went cricket silent. The next person who spoke up was Oscar's aunt. Isn't that a bit too old? Oscar asked what she meant by that. Her response, do you want kids? Now, that made me mad. And still, once the minute I went to attack my husband calmly caressed my side. Oscar's response to the question was, yeah, what does her age have to do with that? The tightness was clearly shown on his face, and his mother was the one who answered him though. A younger woman would have been a better choice. Look at Luso. She just turned 19. Plus she's beautiful with blue eyes and blonde hair. I intervened at that point and I defended my sister and my culture. I noticed all night she kept making jabs about my sister's Arab heritage, even assuming we're workers, because we're not white. Why don't you just come out and say you're a racist jerk? I shocked the table with that one, but her response made me even more mad. She responded with, oh, Arab, I thought you lots would be submissive and meek. What a pity, looks like he didn't even find one of the high-class ones. Instead, he went for the ghetto, terrorist type. Well, I attacked her when she said that, and it was really my final straw. I managed to get in a few good left-right uppercut McGregors, but before my husband pulled me off of her, she threatened to call immigration on us and sue us, but Oscar made it clear that they could barely feed themselves, much less pay a lawyer to sue us. He also made it clear that we were citizens of my country and not illegal immigrants. Things escalated, and soon it was a major argument. They told them that until they get their act together and their minds in order, he would cut their allowances and bill payments and go no contact with them, and then we left. Oscar surprisingly found me beating his mother's butt funny, and for a while it was a running joke. Still, as for what happened after I beat that jerk's brakes off, well, Oscar proposed a month later, from what my sister told me. His family contacted him online after seeing pictures of their engagement, and they eventually came to the conclusion where they would attend the dress fitting, as he saw it a proper opportunity for my sister and his mom to meet again, just on better grounds. His mother surprisingly apologized and blamed it on her drinking earlier that day. I called bullcrap, as that would not excuse the behavior of the whole family, but decided a second chance might work out. I went with my sister to meet with her and Oscar's sister for the dress fitting. They were a bit more civilized that time, and things worked out much better. There were a few comments that made me look at her sideways, but eventually we brushed it off. After the fitting, we did a few more things, and my sister had decided to still have an engagement party, so we picked the dresses for that. It was a bit more provocative than normal, and his mother argued that she disagreed. But after arguing back and forth, it was decided she would wear the dress. When they learned of the total prices for all the attires, and they were all being paid for by Oscar, they called and tried to complain, but he easily shut them down, making them know that he had more than enough money to buy 10 of those dresses for this woman. I found that cute as heck. I love how much he loves and cares for my sister. But anyways, after that crap show, they tried to get similar dresses. But luckily, it was one of a kind and my sister got the last one. After that, we went back home and they tried to come to my house, but I refused it. The engagement party planning was done by my husband because, well, he runs a party planning business. We wanted to incorporate a rap culture into it as a way of honoring our roots, but Oscar's family, well, I guess you can guess they were against it. Anyways, we got a brilliant idea. Since we wanted a traditionally white engagement party, we would do that, but they would have no say in the wedding planning. Well, it went surprisingly well. The engagement night passed with little incident. Overall, Evelyn was behaving. Anyways, during wedding planning, there were many times Evelyn would find issues with what my sister chose to do. But each time, Oscar would keep her in check. I could see she was growing more and more displeased by the moment, especially when she learned we chose a white-themed wedding with a rap cuisine. She tried to get Oscar to change it before my sister and even behind her back, but Oscar made it clear nothing would be changed. And he was the one who told us all the antics she went on with, even going as far as to say he was choosing a dirty terrorist over his own mother. For a while, Oscar considered removing them from the wedding planning and inviting them to the wedding. But after a while of her going silent and behaving, we decided to have her calm, as he was still her only baby boy. Boy, I wish I had removed her as maybe we had. things would have been much better for the actual day. Update number 2. So, all started well in the morning. I, along with friends, helped to dress our bride and give her emotional support, cheer her up and make her feel beautiful. I helped to keep her tears at bay because she was happy yet scared. She didn't think that she would one day actually be marrying her perfect man. So, it took a lot of comforting. The dress looked absolutely beautiful on her. Oscar had tried to sneak a peek, but we kept him at bay. LOL, remembering his eager expression as I'm writing this is pretty hilarious. Anyways, as far as things went. Well, once my sister was ready, I left her with the girls and began double-checking everything for the wedding. The planning was on point and everything was perfect until Evelyn appeared. From the moment she walked in, I realized something awful. This chick was wearing a dress almost identical to the one my sister was going to wear. It didn't look half as good on her old butt, but she still had that level of disrespect to even wear it. I instantly caught Oscar's attention to it, still, with other guests around. I try not to cause a scene, especially with the wedding due to start in about an hour. The conversation with Oscar went something like this. Oscar, we need to talk urgently. Yeah, what's up? Please don't tell me she's having a sec. No, it's not about Vera. Well, technically about her, but not really her. He was clearly confused, and I know it's because he hadn't noticed his mother yet. And even if he did, he probably wouldn't even know what the issue was, as he hadn't seen the dresses yet. Ugh, well, what is it? It's your mother. The dress she's wearing is almost identical to Vera's. What? Are you serious? Let me tell you, he looked mad. Yeah, go take a look at it, Oscar. He'd walked past me and looked at it to see her. Almost instantly, he stormed over to her. I was worried he would make a scene, but he managed to approach the situation calmly. He said something to her, and she followed him in the back room where I was. Once inside, he slammed the door shut, and then he exploded on her. How frickin' dare you do this, Evelyn? Do what? She was clearly trying to play the innocent role. Even talking about it now makes me mad. This freaking chick. You know exactly what the duck you're doing. How do you manage to get a dress almost identical to my wife's to come on her wedding? Her face lit up like she finally understood something. I could tell her that whatever was gonna come out of her mouth after that would be pure bullcrap, and I was right. Oh, sorry about that. I didn't know what it looked like at all, or if it looked like hers. The dress I bought before got soiled, so I had to rush and buy something. That was a lie. I knew dang well it was a lie, because her sister was wearing that dress. So, I called her out. Hey, you're lying. The dress you bought's the same one your sister's wearing right now. But, you know what? Don't worry. I have a dress that you can change into. I could tell she was surprised, but I thank God for the little voice that had told me to plan for something like this happening. Oscar's expression spoke that he was very pleased when he heard that what I said. Evelyn's face on the other hand changed. Well, that's great then, Mom. You can wait here for it and then change. Evelyn glared at me and tried pleading with Oscar, saying that since the wedding would be starting soon, it'd be too troublesome for her to change. But Oscar was having none of it. He told her that if she did not want to change, then she should be prepared to miss his wedding, as he would gladly send her home. Anyways, I got the dress and both Oscar and me waited for her to change into it. She was obviously angry, but I could care less. Once she changed, I took the dress and got rid of it, then went back to my sister. I didn't tell her at the time what his mother did, because I did not want to spoil her big day. So, I kept up a big smile and went back in. We talked while we waited for everything. I would be the one walking her down the aisle as our parents were both dead. I was sure everything would be perfect, and for the moment, it was. I told my husband to keep an eye on Evelyn to make sure she doesn't ruin anything. Well, the wedding went smoothly, and I was happy walking her down the aisle and giving her away to Oscar, as I felt she would be happy, loved, and safe with him. Once the wedding was over, it was time for the reception. I helped my husband with everything, so the guests began talking and taking their seats and stuff. I was happy to see that the Arab cuisine was a good choice. I thought everything was good until I noticed a very unhappy Evelyn. When I walked over to her, she began complaining about the food, even going as far as to demand something different to eat. I could feel others watching the interaction and, well, I didn't really want to ruin my sister's wedding. So, Oscar had luckily noticed what was going on and told her that if she did not stop making such a fuss to seek attention, he would send her back to the dump she came from. She had tried crying and disrupting, but he made it very clear that if she did, he would make sure he promised and went through with it. That luckily shut her up and the reception went perfect. None of his family members were allowed to give speeches as we didn't trust any of them with the microphone. Once the reception was over and we traveled in the venue after the party, everything went great, at first. I noticed Evelyn was busy drinking and dancing away. I could tell she was seeking attention, but I ignored her. My sister was about to do a planned belly dance choreography for Oscar. When the entitled chick began making a fuss, the music that was being played was interrupted. When I checked to see what caused it, I found out that she unplugged it. After she did that, she starts screaming drunkenly, drawing everybody's attention. To give you an idea of what she said, here it is. You stupid terrorist. How dare you take my son from me because of you? He hates me today. He married you, a dark-skinned immigrant runt. You don't even have money. You gold-digging toad. You tricked him. You tricked him to sleep with him. You're nothing. I know he would not choose you unless you tricked him to do your dirty little black magic on him. Even your food is garbage. It's absolutely disgusting. I hate your pots and pans sounding music. It sounds awful, uncivilized. I hate you. Just writing that makes me cringe, but that was some of the awful things she said. I tried going over to her to get her to shut up, but she began thrashing the venue, throwing things, and screaming even more awful stuff. Like, how my sister was an old jerk who could not get pregnant, who tricked her son into marrying her, and how my sister was using her son in all kinds of nasty things. When the men tried to get her under control, she ran and jumped on top of one of the buffet tables, and pulled down her panties and started peeing on the food. It was a nasty sight that created a chain reaction, as from there everything went downhill. Guests began vomiting at the sight, which led to some even passing out. I could see my sister crying and people running around when she starts screaming and throwing the same food that she peed on at people. All I can say, it was an absolute disaster. The one to put to the end was Oscar, and even then he struggled. He had to grab her and carry her out, while he was dragging her away. She vomits all over him and on the floor. It was awful. Anyways, after that crap show was over, we obviously could not have the after party. I could tell our friends were embarrassed for us. My sister left with Oscar, and I had to apologize for the guest, for everything. Eventually, I had to call in a cleaning company and end the party. Well, in the days that followed the incident, my sister was sick with embarrassment. She barely got out of bed and was constantly crying. Even their honeymoon had to be canceled, and Oscar was barely around because he had to be compensating guests and dealing with the owners of the venue. As for what happened to that crazy jerk, well, apparently Oscar had them lock her inside her room. This was until he decided what to do with her. My sister only perked up after Oscar came to visit her and stayed over for a while. He finally compensated everyone, and that was also when he told us that he planned another after party. He told her this one would just be them and a few close friends. None of his family would be invited because his sister and aunt were both responsible in one way or the other for what his mother's done. When his family found out, his sister called him on the phone and was on the speaker. So me and my sister heard the whole conversation. It went like this. Oscar says, "Why are you calling my phone?" His sister Talia, "Why don't you tell us, where you're keeping the other, party that you're planning? Because it's none of your business." I had to resist laughing when he said that with a straight face. "Why, aren't we invited to the party you're keeping? You have to be really entitled to expect me to invite you after that crap you helped Mom pull. I'm innocent. You can't punish me for what Mom did. I didn't do anything." I could tell Oscar was clearly getting mad by her trying to make him look like a fool, and rightfully so. "You, innocent. Look, Talia, I didn't wake up dumber today than I was yesterday, so don't try to take me as a fool." But, I didn't do stop it. I know you helped her to buy and ship the dress that was similar to my wife's, so that she could take all the attention off my wife at the wedding to try and embarrass her. I could hear the shock in her voice when she said, "What?" I honestly found it funny, even though it shouldn't have been. Oscar smirked, knowing he caught her where he wanted her. "Yes, dear sister, I know what you've done. Look, I'm sorry, I had no choice." "What do you mean, you had no choice?" "You had a choice, you just didn't want to exercise it." "Look, Oscar, Mom said if I didn't help her, she would kick me out. You know, I don't have anywhere to go." Ha. "Well, dear sister, either way you'll have nowhere to go. Maybe, had you decided to go against her and let me know what you were planning, I would have helped. But since you've helped her ruin my wedding, then you'll be homeless in about a month." Now, I have to say that you've definitely caught my attention. I didn't know then what he was planning after the conversation continued. "This is what went down." "What do you mean by that?" "I mean that I'm stopping all pay events for the rent and also the bills, so you better figure out a way to survive." "You can't do that." "How, why not? I'm your sister. You can't just leave me in the streets. Plus, what about aunt, cousin, and Mom?" "Well, I guess you can just relay the message to them. As far as Mom, well, she did raise me, so she's going to a home. It's about time she dealt with her alcoholic ways, and I'll make sure it's a comfortable one for her. As you're 26. My wife's sister's only a bit older than you, and she's already successful. So why's it so hard for you? I was working and living on my own, plus taking care of you. All at your age, so find a job, you bum." Let's just say I found it hard holding my laughter in when he said that, and even now I still chuckle. Almost immediately after, she turned into a crying, screaming banshee on the phone, saying how unfair he was for abandoning his family, for a woman, and all sorts of stuff, and how he'll be sinned. She even said some rounds of racist crap to invalidate his point about me being a successful woman. But, meh. After that conversation, everything was settled. He'd asked me to decide on which nursing home would be best fit for his mother, and I was secretly vengeful, and sighed, so let's just say she's seeing a lot of diversity, and her last few days, I made sure it was one ran by another race of people. Even the nurses were diverse, and even my sister wasn't on it, making sure to request both different ethnicity therapist and nurse as her primary caregiver. Final update. So, I helped my sister to get ready, and then we were driven to the party by Oscar. The total amount of attendees were 100. Not everyone who was at the last party was present, but it was still a bit over half, all close friends and business partners. Anyways, once everyone arrived, the party started and it was banging. Still, I was shocked when security told me someone had come to see Oscar. I was worried of who it could be, so I didn't tell my sister, afraid that it would ruin her night. But I did get Oscar to follow me out. And lo and behold, there, his raggedy mother was holding his sister and aunt. The first thing his mother did was start screaming at us and crying. "Where's that terrorist you chose over your family, you ungrateful brat? Tell her to get out of here. Why did she send her stupid sister here so cowardly? Come out. Since she's just a coward, why doesn't she just off herself like the rest of yous?" Ugh. I honestly had enough of them by this, so I walked right up to her and smacked her across the face. I'm not kidding. I left my full handprint across her old, crusty face. She was clearly shocked, and I still get a feeling of satisfaction from remembering the look she had. I've had enough of your hooligans constantly disrespecting my sister. You call us all kinds of racist slurs and feel yourself superior because of your color. And yet, of us two, you've always been the one refusing to act civilized. You scream, and you shout like a freaking beast. A wild animal, every chance you get. Even if we're all that which you claim, and we're just at least, we're independent with good men in our lives, not leeching off of anyone and everything like you. I felt good giving them a piece of my mind, and they were clearly shocked. His mother tried to attack back, because of what I did and said. But Oscar told her if she dared to touch me, he would call the cops. Then she said he wouldn't dare call the cops on his own mother, and he told her to try him. When she realized she was once again on the losing end, she broke down crying and throwing a tantrum. Oscar told security to get her under control before she ruined the night. His aunt and sister made things difficult. Eventually, I called the cops and they were all acting like immature brats, crying and thrashing about as they were detained. Until the cops came. They were arrested and escorted off property. Once that was said and done, we'd gone back to the party. We didn't tell my sister what happened until the morning after, and she was a laughing mess when I told her. Oscar also got his mother bailed out the next day, and sent her on her merry way to that nursing home. He told us she was hysterical once she learned she would not be going home to her pretty house and lazy comfort. He had made sure that she was placed in good hands, and yeah, that's pretty much how it all went down. As for his sister and aunt, well, he bailed them and kicked them out of the house. Also, blocked them and their friends on all of social media. Me and my sister also did the same in case they got desperate and tried to contact us.